Hey guys, welcome back. For today's video, we'll be going to enhance our web application using Grid, Card, and much more. So now, without any further ado, let's get started. Before we proceed with Home, I would like to modify this header part here. What I want is, I want to add a small icon here just to make some presentable presentation in this section part. So let's start. In our code, head to this section here in our header knob. Okay, so these are the things that we need to add. So first, we need to import the styles. To do that, let's type by typing import make styles from oops. Okay, same goes still under material UI. So movie slash okay. So from here, you need to call the styles. The good thing with style is we can overwrite those things that already present in our code. So to do that, I'm going to call or assign that in a variable called, we can call that as useStyles. From here, you need to call this function here, and then we're going to apply this. Of course, I'm going to assign a variable here for themes. Okay, so under this make style, let's add a property for our two components. The first one, we're going to modify this toolbar. Next, I'm going to modify also this avatar. But for now, we don't have the avatar yet. So what we're going to do is we need to prepare the style so that later on we're going to apply these styles in our code. So let's start. Under this toolbar, we're going to modify this property props. First one is the background. Okay, so for our background, I wanted to make it, let's say going to make it as purple. All right, and then for the color, so color represent as the color text. So let's say you just copy this code. So df df df. Okay, so this is the color that I want. Okay, but we need to enclose this in a return statement. So just enclose with the return. Okay, so that this is also belong to a property. Okay, cool. Now, okay, for our avatar, I'm going to add this property props margin right. Okay, so from here, what I'm planning to do is going to apply this. Of course, we need to call the theme spacing. Okay, so for the spacing, I'm going to tap this for two space. Okay, all right. Next, now that we finish setting up our style, The next thing we need to do now is we need to import these use styles. So let's apply that by copying these use styles. Then inside this header navigation function, we need to assign that in our variables. So for variables, we're going to call or name that as classes, and we're going to apply our use styles. All right. So from our styles, the next thing now is we need to apply these styles to our component. So right, as you recall, we call that or apply that. We apply the properties for our toolbar. So we're going to call this now. So inside this toolbar component, just add this property probes name as class name. Then within our class name, we're going to apply the classes. All right, so save that. And there you go. Cool. So that's it. That's the first one. Now next, after we modify the toolbar, the next thing we need to do now is we need to add the avatar. So since we already added the properties, so what I'm going to do now is going to call the avatar component. So from here, just call the avatar from at movie materials avatar. Okay, this should be import. All right, so from this point here, let's copy that. Then head down to our toolbar component. So I'm going to place that on this section here. Okay, so okay, just basic first. Let's check this if this is working. Okay, so let's head back to our coding. Okay, so we have some error bugs here, module not found. Okay, so let's head back to our import. Okay, this should be material. Okay, so save that. Okay, import is not. Okay, so okay, input avatar is not. Okay, this should be simple as this one. All right, so let's check now. Okay, cool. So now that we already import the avatar, so next we need to fix this space in between these two this section here. So since we already applied that in our properties, so I want to call these properties for avatar. So same goes from here, going to apply the class name. Okay. So let's call this property function here for the avatar. So let's save that. And there you go. Now that we managed to fix this avatar section here, I want to insert an icon just for this one. Okay, so if you are on your browser, just head back to a Google, or then search some pictures like this one. So for my example, I'm going to copy one from here. So let's say this one. So you can pick any image from your preference. So just search from Google. So any better a small size. Okay, that should solve everything. Whenever any photos that fits on your logo should be fine. So head back to your code, and then under public, just paste that under the folder for this one, and just place that in the image folder. Okay, I'm going to name that as Dexter. Okay, so let's head back to our code. And from our code, let's make sure that we import. Okay, so Dexter is already here. Okay, cool. So now that we have our Dexter icon, so on your part, you can pick any photos. It doesn't matter. So in our avatar, okay, so let's stop that. Okay, so let's add these properties called source. And from our source, we can import our image from our public directory. Public should be Dexter. Dexter.png. Let's save that. So here, going to rename this as Dexter because I misplaced the name. And there you go. So, all right, so let's check now. And there you go. So that's it. That's the first part. So after we finish our header, so next thing now we need to do is we need to modify now our home. Okay? To start with our home, let's head back to our code. Okay. From our code, just proceed on the under pages, this page here, the home. Okay. So right now, we need to add some components. And for that components, let's say I'm going to import grid. Okay, so from our grid, we need to add that from add movie material grid. Okay, that's the first one. Second, maybe I should copy this one. Going to import the next one, which is the card. All right. And then the next one, I'm going to add one more. And this one, I'm going to import the box. All right. Now that we import our selections for our component, so we need to understand first what are these. The first one is the grid. So grid represents as you can say this is the design of their container. So this specifies the formation of your component. So this holds the position if that is in a mobile mode or a normal desktop. So anything, we can do that using grid. So the rest, like the card and box, are the two most common use when it comes to React MOUI. So the card and the box represents as the container. So let's apply those things and see how this works or how it presented in our code. So let's proceed that by modifying this section here. So for here, I'm going to enclose that. Okay. So the first one, I'm going to call the grid. So, okay. Okay, from our grid, okay, so just do it in this manner. So we need to consider some of the breakpoints. So to do that, we need to apply some properties like first, the item. So I think this should be a little longer. So I need to break break down that. So first breakpoint is I need to emphasize this one. So if the size is 12. Okay. Basically, 12 is the highest or the highest grid formation when it comes to web. So, okay. So next, if it is a small one, I'm going to split that into six display. Next, if it is a medium, so let's, okay. So from here, going to, same goes, I'm going to display that in a 6 manner. Okay. Notice that I break down that into several pieces so that if the image or size or whatever components within this grid still manageable and visual. So still can view at whatever position that you set. So next, so if it is large, going to assign that as 4. Okay, if it is okay, sorry, this should be an XL. So maybe 3. All right. So next is this breaking point here. Okay. So for this one, what I want is I want this in a full 100% width size. So let's say width. Okay. Okay. So let's head back to our code. So far, if you are on our code, okay, so there's nothing you can see from here because right now we're just modifying the position. So now that we have our grid section, the first thing or the things that we need to add here now is the component. So since we have two components, so the first one is the card. Okay. And inside the card, I want to display this box component. All right. Okay. So right now we have our two remaining component, which is the box and the card. So if you're checking that right now, okay, so let's inspect that. Movie from here. Okay, so it should be under main. Then from our main, we have this toolbar. So this is the toolbar, and this is the grid. Okay, so this is the grid section. So far, you cannot see that very well in this section. So head back to our components. Okay. So if you're using the component debugging tool, so you can see how the permission works or display. So let's go to the root. Okay. Okay. So right now it's hard to see because there's so many bunch of things that were set up here. So very clear here that we just applied the grid. So if you are on this section, you can see that this grid has now the property props for the following. Okay. So, okay, let's continue. So right now, we basically apply now this component inside the home. So the next thing we need to do now is we need to continue with our design. Okay. Now, for me to make it more presentable, I want to extract some of the properties. So let's say inside this home, I'm going to create a function. Okay. So for this one, I'm going to call this as card property. Okay. So what I want is, I want to set up the following. So same goes as what we did in style. In here, we can also do the same, but this time, this is just assigned in a variable, just the normal stuff. So let's say border radius. Okay, I'm going to call this as border radius. I'm going to set this to 3. And the back shadow, going to set this as 0. Okay. Okay, good. So now that we have this one, I'm going to apply this function or this assign property in our card. So let's head back to our card. Okay, so let's set up our breaking point to display that property card. So let's call the card property. Okay, so to view this visually, I'm going to add a property props, and we're going to call the variant so that this will display the things that we like. So let's say going to name or apply these properties called variant outline. Okay, so you can experiment. There are also a bunch of like there's also another thing from here like the elevation, undefined. Okay, okay, just like this one. So let's head back to our code and see how it goes. And there you go. So right now we already started displaying the component in this section here. So let's continue. Okay, now that we set up our card, the next thing we need to do now is I want to apply the same properties, this time that is under the box component. So to do that, I'm going to modify this box session here. So just focus on this one. So just hit enter. So within this box, let's apply some property point for this one. So let's say, okay, so for the property props, I want to display this. Okay, I want this to be flex. So it should be flexible. So that's the first one. Next, I want to display the flex direction. Okay, for the direction, I'm going to, okay, for the direction, let's present that in a column manner, like that. Next, I want to align some of the components. So to do that, I'm going to align items. So for this position, I want everything should be at the center. Next, I'm going to add also the properties for the text alignment. Same goes, should be center. And the paragraph section. Okay, cool. So what I want now is I want to test. Okay, so let's apply one of the components aside from this one. So right now we have now this configured box component. So let's add one component, and I'm going to call the avatar. So let's same goes, going to import avatar from admin materials avatar. All right, so let's copy that. Then inside this box, let's call our avatar. Let's check. And there you go. Okay, cool. Now that we have our component, let's modify this avatar component. So let's head back to our code. Okay. And then from here, let's modify some of these function. Okay. So from our properties, okay, I want to set up this first, the breakpoint. Okay, so let's do some coding stuff here. Let's start with the width. So I want this into 70. Height, so height should also be 70. Okay, margin bottom should be 2. Okay, so let's check now. And there you go. Okay, I want to display something, but this time, I think the better, maybe I should use the icon, the same icon that I used a while ago. So I'm going to call Dexter. So I'll head back to our header navbar. I'm going to copy this property function source. Then in our home, so we're going to apply that. Okay, so we have, okay, so should not be here, should be here. Okay, so let's fix that. All right. Okay, so let's save. So let's head back to our code. And there you go. Cool. So now that we have our avatar setup, the next thing we need to do now is I want to modify some sections. So to do that, I want to display some information for this avatar. So I want to add this component. So we call the typography. Import typography. All right, so yeah. So okay, let's just make this as basic, as simple as. Okay, cool. So let's copy that. Then we apply that in our code. So it should be better next to this avatar. Okay. Lower to avatar section, just call the component typography with a variant props of, let's say, H6. Okay, with a breaking point. Okay, for the breaking point, I want this font weight going to set us to bold. All right, so let's close that. And I'm going to put my name. Okay, for this one here should be a text base. So let's save that. And there you go. So let's check. Okay, cool. So now that we set up our section here, so let's head back to our code and see some other stuff. Okay. Okay, so that's the first one. Next, I'm going to copy this section and paste it here. So I'm going to change this as full stack developer. Then for the variant, I'm going to select the body one. And for this section here, maybe I should use the color setup. And for the color, I'm going to basically use this property text dot secondary. Oops, this should be text. Okay, save it. Okay, cool. So I guess that should be fine. So let's check again. And there you go. Okay. So right now, our icon, I want this to center in this section here. So going to, let's fix that. The reason that it is not working, as you recall, we already assigned this box component to display in a column type. So I noticed one of the properties here was spelled, was just misspelled. So let's fix that. Especially this section here. So let's fix that corner. Okay, so let's save that. Okay, it should be align items. So basically, whatever components within this box component should be already applied to all. But since we have a bugs, so I guess that solved everything. So let's check. So head back to our code, and there you go. Okay, so let's move that a little bit. Okay, so right now, we already solved that problem. So let's continue. We'll still modify this section here. So let's proceed to our code. On our next code section, I want to display some social media icon below this section here. So to start with, let's call or add another component for this one. So let's head back to our code and head back to our import section. So from here, maybe here. Okay, so let's import this card content. Okay. So I want the card content to display those social media icon. Okay, that should. Okay, cool. So for this to work, let's set back to our code under under this box section. Okay, so if you are in this section, this box component, so next to that, make sure you tab. Okay, and then we're going to place or apply that component. Oops. Okay, cool. So right now we have this one. So let's modify some basic properties for this display. So to do that, let's set up the breakpoint. Okay, same goes. I want this to display. Okay. Okay, I want this to display as flex. And now we need to modify one more. I want this to add the property props called justify content. Okay. So for this one, I want this section to apply the space between. So whatever component is assign inside this cart content, it will be tagged to each other or should be a space in between of them. So next, I'm going to add one more, and that is the text alignment. Okay, okay. Make sure you spell it correctly. And I want those things to be centered. All right. Okay, just put some comma. Okay, so right now we already apply this cart content. So the next thing we need to do now is we need to apply some icons. So for our social icon to be displayed, because what we target here is we need to display that somewhere in this section here. So we need to add some icons on that part. So what are these common basic social media icon like the Twitter, Facebook, and etc. So what we need to do is we need to import those. Unfortunately, Material UI don't have those icons. So what would we do now is we need to get that icon from a different source. So this time, let's add or install this package. So head back to our code. So if you are on this in our code section, so this terminal, so just add one more terminal. Okay. So make sure you are within the project, and then we need to install this one. So this icon, this is a type of icon package that we need to get those icons for us to use. So let's install that. Okay, same goes. If you ever encounter like this problem, usually this happens if you're running React version 18. So to fix that, let's add these properties at the end. So let's add or force this installation by adding legacy peer depths. So either this one, you can use force it, or you can use this dash dash or hyphen hyphen force, or this legacy peer depths. So if you are having this same problem, just proceed to this solution. So basically, this only applies to the latest version of React. Now that we installed the MDI package, the next thing we need to do now is we need to add another package. This is also an MDI for React. So let's start. So at this portion here, so okay, just replace like this one. So this is okay. Let's move this a little. So this is what we call the MDI React. So this is also another package or package for React, and we're going to use this in our icon base. All right. So let's start. Just hit enter. All right. Once done, let's head back to our code. Now, in our code, let's import those package. So first, we need to import first the icon. So what are these icons? So let's say going to import the MDI for Pinterest. Next, going to import also for the Instagram. All right, so next, going to apply also for the Twitter. Next, going to import also this icon from Facebook. Okay, so all of this icon here, going to import that from app NDI/JS. Okay, so next, since we already also added the MDI for React, so I'm going to add that as well. So from here, I'm going to import icon from MDI React. Okay, cool. So now that we added these things, so let's add one more package. This time is from Material UI. So I'm going to add this one. So import icon button. Okay. All right. So now we have applied or import all those necessary component. So let's head back to our code. So in our code, okay, so head down to our card content. From here, let's call the icon button. Icon button. Okay. And for this icon button, I'm going to set the size to large. Okay. All right. Then from here, I'm going to call the icon. Okay. So for our icon, let's apply some property props. So from here, let's call this the icon Twitter. So, okay, so that's the first one. Next, I'm going to apply the color. So for the color, let's apply this. Okay, just copy this one. And the size on that one. Okay, we can close this up. So let's check. Color, large button. Okay, so large icon. Okay. All right, so we already placed those things. So let's check our browser. And there you go. Okay, cool. So right now we have our icon here. So let's continue. So same goes. I'm going to copy these things here. Let's say, let's start with 3 copies. So next is the Instagram. Let's say this one is the Facebook. And what's the last one? Okay, Instagram, Pinterest. Okay, Pinterest. So that's the last one. So let's copy one more. And from here, so let's add the Pinterest. Save that. Let's head back to our code. Right to our browser, and there you go. Cool. Nice. So this is how we apply our, yeah, I think this is good now. Okay, cool. So that's it, guys. Now we're done with our social media icon. So the next thing we need to do now is we need to add some more details down below. So let's continue. Let's head back to our code. Okay. What I want to do is I need to copy back again these things here. First, I need to copy the grid. Just click this toggle selection here so that it will be minimized. And then we need to paste the grid component. All right, next. Next, we need to copy also this card. Make sure whenever you copy, make sure you enclose that component. All right. Okay, next, I want to copy also this box component. Should be inside this card. All right. So box here. So okay. So let's save that. Okay, so right now we have another copies of the first setup. So what we're going to do now is we need to modify this new package here. So let's begin with this uh, this section. So let's modify first this box. So from here, I'm going to replace this to 3. Next, I'm going to remove this text align center. Okay, so that's it. So that's the first part. Okay, within our next part, I want to apply also the box container. So inside this box, please copy this box again and place it inside this box component. Okay, so right now we have a second layer of box. Okay, so we have the outer box, which is the main or the parent, and we have also the child. Okay, so this one's here and this one's here. So let's focus on this next one. So from here, I'm going to replace the following. So first, I need to remove this section here. And for the direction, I'm going to both this section here and this section. Let's change that to row. All right. Okay. Next, I'm going to add this icon. So I'm going to add an icon path. Now for the icon, so let's add this icon MDI palette outline. Okay. Okay, add this path and with a size of 1.3 and with a color, same goes as to what color we applied a while ago. There should be this hashtag 222. Then we're going to close that. Okay, for this icon, if you're missing this icon, just copy this one here and apply that in here. So a while ago when I'm doing some testing, I already add this one. So just add this icon next to this within this MTIGS, and that should work. Okay, so let's go back. And then from here, let's save it. So let's check our code. So open your browser. And there you go. So now that we have our icon here, so let's continue. Okay. Down below to our icon, I'm going to add a text display. So let's call the typography. This time with a variant of H5. Okay, this should be header 5. Let's tap this one so that we won't be confused. Okay, next, I'm going to add some breakpoints. I'm going to change this to ML to 1. And the font weight, let's make it bold. All right, so let's close this now. Okay. Between this topography or typography, let's type the words. I'm going to name this as, or call this as inspirations. Okay, so let's check. And there you go. Cool. So now we have our inspirations for this header. So let's continue, and we need to display something next for this to this inspiration. So let's continue. Before we proceed, I want to clean this outline variant here. So I just want to make it a plain, as simple, so that we only focus on the title section here. So let's head back to our code. Now, as you remember, after this section here, we need to head back to the mother section. Right? So this is the grid. I want to remove this variant outline. So let's make it more plain or clean. So remove that. Okay. So what it does is we're going to clean those line section here. All right. So that's it. So that the next part here, I'm going to display some photos next down below here. So let's make it more beautiful as is. Okay. So this is okay now. So let's continue. Now, if you are in this section, okay, let's minimize or tackle this one. Okay, so right now, I'm going to arrange that or display that in this one so that we can see the next component. So let's copy back or make another box next to this two section here. So let's add the box. Okay. So here, okay. So in this section box, let's add some properties. So first, going to apply some breakpoint here. Then for the position, I'm going to make this as relative. And the margin button, I'm going to set this to 2. Okay, so let's save that. Okay. Let's apply some comma. And there you go. So now that we have this next section here, the next thing now we need to do is I want to apply a cart media for this one. So let's head back to our header for the import section. So in here, I'm going to import, let's call it back again, the cart media. Okay. So, okay. Actually, you can group this import section here. So on my case, I just want to emphasize the individual component so that we can see clearly what are those components that we're using. It doesn't matter. You can also do the groupings like the original, like this one here, like this one. So you can also do like that. But for this demo, I just want to emphasize for each component. Let's copy that. All right. So under here, okay. Okay. So let's apply or import that component. Okay. So better going to close that in here because I just focusing on the properties. Okay, if you recall, we already used that in our previous tutorial. So right now I'm going to use that back again. So let's call the component. So I'm going to treat this as image with the, okay, oops. Okay. So here going to set the height. I'm going to set that to 250. For the image, 50. And then for the image, oops. Okay. I'll be calling the image from the previous discussion. So as you recall, I call this photo. So I'm going to apply this back again. So in here, /img slash photo.jpg. All right. Okay. So let's save that. And check our web browser. And there you go. Cool. Okay. So at this point here, I want to display a break, something that divide that inspires this one. So I want to customize this section here. So let's continue with our code. Okay. Okay, next to our card media. Okay. This section here, I want to add another box. So make sure the position is inside this box and we have the card media. So we need to add one more box component. Okay. So this will customize our display. So what I want here, I want to declare again back the breaking point, and I'm going to set these properties. First, the position, it should be absolute. All right. And then from the bottom, I'm going to set this as to 0. Left should be 0 as well. And the right, I'm going to set as 0. And with this paragraph here to 2. And with the background color. Okay. So for the background color, just copy around. Okay, so let's move this upward. So apply the hashtag and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then D and 1. Let's say that. Okay, so let's check our browser. And there you go. So this is what I want. I want something dark in this section here. So in this lower part, I'm going to highlight then some text component. So to do that, let's head back to our code. And then inside this box, let's call the typography. Okay, right? So from here, let's apply the variant. For this one, for the variant, I want to set this as body 1. Okay, and with the color, okay, let's make this color white. Okay, maybe we need to tap here so that we can see it very clearly. Okay, so color white, then with a breakpoint. So for the breakpoint, XX. So let's set this 1. Okay. So, okay, what is the content? So from here, I'm going to, I just note this as welcome. Okay, so we have already the welcome. So next, let's copy this once more. And next to this section here, I'm going to apply, let's say going to replace this to H5. Okay. Or should I say, okay, so let's replace this to my website. All right. So now we have two sections here. We have this welcome and my website. So let's head back to our browser and check. There you go. Maybe let's add this more. Welcome to my. Welcome to. Okay. Cool. All right. So that's it. So that's the nice feature here. So, okay, cool. So let's add one more. So I want this to be as good as possible. So right now we have this information, my header, or same like what you see in the Twitter part or Facebook. So this is the intro, and then we have this middle information here. So I want to add one more box card in next to this inspiration. So let's continue. Okay, so to avoid confuse this component here, I want to toggle that. Okay, so we already focusing on within this card. So let's tap that. Okay. So next to this two box component, we're going to add another component for this one. So this time I'll be using a different component. So let's head back to our header. Okay. This time I'm going to import this one. This is the cart content. Okay, so let's check. Okay, so I think we already called this cart content, so no need for me to import this one. So let's copy that. Okay, so head down below. Now next to this two box, let's call our cart content. All right. So from here, let's apply the properties. So let's begin with the breaking point. So we need to place this paragraph to 3 and the margin bottom to 0. Okay, so that's the first one. So here inside this cart content, we're going to apply some typography. So let's call the typography. Okay, cool. Okay, for the properties of our typography, I'm going to add first, going to set the variant. I'm going to set that as body1. Variant. Okay. Next, going to apply the color. For the color, going to call the text secondary. And with a breaking point of marginal bottom to 1. All right, so let's type the information. For here, I'm going to call this as introduction. All right, so let's compress this now so that we know the groupings. Let's save that. Then let's proceed to our code. There you go. So now that we have our intro, so let's work now with the next paragraph section here. So let's go back here. Now that we're finished on this section, let's toggle this one. Okay, so that we can avoid the confusion. So since we're dealing with multiple box already or multiple component. So from here, I'm going to call now the box. Okay, for the property function, although we can break this one and split that and paste that to the component. But for now, I just want to make it as all compiled in one code. So that I can see the sequence and to avoid confuse. Maybe later we can break down this, but for now, we just continue like this one. So let's continue. So from here, let's do the breaking point, the paragraph 3. Then let's do the display or add the display. Let's set this to flex. And the flex direction, let's display this as raw. And the align items, let's set this up to center. Okay, and these new properties. So let's add this justify content. From this one, so let's add this space between. All right, cool. Let's save that. Now, now that we finish with this box, the next thing we need to do now is we need to apply or add more package for this one. So for that package, let's head back to our header. Then I'm going to import this link from okay, this is also properties or package from materials. Let's call the link. Okay, so let's head back to our code. So this will serve as our trigger link. So from here, okay, so from here inside this box, let's call the link. Now let's apply some properties for this one. First, I want to apply this property href. Basically, the link is like an anchor component. So you can simply modify this later at your will. But for now, we're just applying this one. So that's the href. Next, I'm going to apply the another property props of underline. This should be always. Next, with a variant. Okay, we need to customize the text. So this should be body 1. For the color, okay, for the color should be text dot primary. And for the breaking point, oops, right, that should be primary. And for our breaking point, so let's call this font weight. Okay, for the font weight, okay, let's see to it. This is set to bold, and we're going to close this tagline. All right, so let's check our browser. Okay, it's not showing up here, so let's, we're missing some point here. Okay, yeah, of course. We need to wrap this one as well. So let's close this tag in this manner, and then let's call or name this as views. And there you go. Cool. All right, so that's it. Okay, what else did we miss? So let's check. Okay. Okay, cool. So let's verify this way. I think I missed some part here. So I want to stretch these views with this introduction. So I'm going to add some more in between this introduction and views. So let's head back to our code. Okay. Okay, to avoid confuse with the last part here. So let's toggle this card component. I mean this box. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to modify, I want to go before the last part, go back to the cart content. Okay, so in our cart content, okay, I want to add some more text in this section. Introduction, okay, here. So I want to add some more. So let's say I'm going to copy this one. Okay, now for this next section here, I want to change this content. Same goes, this should be text secondary. But I'm going to remove this breaking point here. And I'm going to name this or replace this text. Meet the team of superpowers. Okay, so we're working on the card content. So let's check our code. Okay, cool. All right. So maybe that's one, I think we can consider that as a good one. So now that we're done with our component, so let's continue some more. So this time, I want to add a group of people here that will recognize with the team because I'm focusing on the team superpowers. So I'm going to put some icons, a group of icons in here. So this time, let's introduce you to the next package, and that package is what we call the avatar group. Okay, so let's head back to our code and okay. Okay, from this section here, let's import now next one. And I'm going to call this avatar group. Okay. Now, what is the difference between the normal avatar and the avatar group? So basically from the name itself, avatar group is a group of avatar. Yeah, basically like that. So let's add that. So let's toggle this one so that we can avoid those confusion. Okay, under here, the last part, going back to our last part, let's expand this one. Okay. So next to link, in here. Okay. So let's call that avatar group. Now for this one, okay. To properly use this one, let's say I'm going to apply those avatar groups in this manner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So let's save that. Okay. So once you save that, let's take a look on our browser. And there you go. So this is basically how avatar groups looks like. So let's modify some more for this one. Okay. In avatar group, you can simply set the max display. So for this one, let's say we can add a max of 5, something like that. Okay, so for our avatar, okay, there's so many ways to display this one. I want to display that as like this one. Okay, let's break that one and let's do the normal stuff. Okay, so in Avatar, you can also apply those letters. So let's say this is only an example. And there you go. Okay. So like this manner, you can also apply this into image. So let's say, okay, so let's copy some of the image here. So let's say this one. So I suppose this is the link. Oh yeah. So I'm going to name this as image one. This is image two. This is image three. So don't feel bad. You can pick any photo. It doesn't matter. So just any photo that suits you. So just play around. What was the next one? So image one, two, three. Okay, so let's need four. So this should be IMG4. Okay, this is a PNG. So next, this one, IMG5. All right, so let's apply that. So in here, so to make it more presentable, let's copy, okay, let's apply that source. So source equals to img slash img1, okay, img1.jpg. So make sure you follow what are those photos you're referring at. So same goes. I'm going to apply that as well. Okay, just replace the normal stuff. 2, 3, 4. So this is PNG. So PNG 5. Okay. Okay, cool. So let's head back to our code. And there you go. All right. So yeah, so that's it. Now that we complete our code, and yeah, so this is now more presentable as ever. So right now, this is only the idea on how to make your very own homepage. So, okay. So feel free to ask if you, okay. Okay, so you can simply pause the video so that you can follow along those things. So like I said, actually we can break this up. Okay, because right now we have how many inside? So we have this first grid here and this second grid. So in this second grid, we just breaking those component within inside. So it doesn't matter. You can also export that with different, or you can chop this into different pieces and later on you just import. But since we already discussed this for a very long period, it's already more than minutes since we started discussing this one. So you can do this or practice on your own. All right. So on the next step, let's continue discuss more about Material UI component. But for now, if you find this video informative, please hit the like button and subscribe. Also hit also those notification icon bell. And on the next topic, we'll discuss more of this. So stay tuned and see you guys on the next video series. Cheers!